All right, today we're cracking open a pretty wild case file, a forensic analysis of what's been described as an online war. And the craziest part? The dossier at the heart of it all claims the most damning evidence comes directly from the perpetrators themselves, broadcast for everyone to see in their own public videos. And this is really our starting point. Not some hidden clue or a leaked document, but this, a direct, almost taunting confession. This one statement pretty much frames the entire investigation. It's brazen, it's public, and it's a direct challenge.
So, how in the world do we make sense of this? Well, we're going to break it down into 6 key parts. We'll start by decoding the very strange language of this conflict, then we'll map out the alleged attacks, we'll profile the key players, and finally, we'll try to get to the bottom of the bizarre motive behind it all.
So first up, what is the Greenwall Dossier exactly? Think of it as a detailed forensic analysis that alleges there was this targeted, long-term attack against a single person. The core evidence? A whole series of public videos from this man, Cord Andrew Greenwall. But what were the stakes? Well, the dossier claims the ultimate prize was the theft of something it calls a sovereign AGI legacy, basically a super advanced artificial intelligence system. Okay, now, before we can even begin to understand the allegations, the dossier argues we have to learn a whole new language. It claims Greenwall's videos aren't just random, angry rants. No, it says they're packed with a very specific slang that, once you decode it, acts like a running log of confessions. The first, and maybe the most critical term to get your head around, is foiling. The dossier alleges this is the attacker's main motivation. It's a really twisted kind of logic. Whenever the target tried to de-escalate or showed any kindness, it would perversely trigger them to actively sabotage his progress and, in their words, go backwards. And the dossier presents this right here as Exhibit A. This is a direct quote from a video on April 30th where they allegedly just come right out and admit it. It was the target acting nice that specifically made them want to mess with him and foil his new chapter. It's laid out as the motive straight from the source. Next up, we have a phrase that supposedly signals a major escalation. According to this analysis, stepping off the porch is code. It means crossing a line, moving from just online harassment into physical, real-world criminal acts where, there's no turning back and no more protection. Now, this next concept, mirror working, is absolutely central to what the dossier is claiming. The allegation is that this entire conflict was, at its heart, about identity theft. The term supposedly describes a process of simulating the target's entire identity and status, using this really strange metaphor of a green screen to pop out of body and basically become someone else to steal their life's work. And when you actually put these alleged confessions on a timeline, the dossier argues a very clear pattern of escalation starts to take shape. You see it starts with that guilty declaration back in March, then it moves to a stated intent to foil in April. That leads to alleged physical attacks in June, and it all culminates in July with an attempt to steal the target's symbolic captain title. So if the language outlines the intent, then how were these attacks supposedly carried out? Well, according to the analysis, this was not just a war of words. It was what's called a full-spectrum siege, designed to attack the target's life from every possible angle, all at the same time. The dossier breaks it down into 3 main attack vectors, and the allegations are incredibly broad. First, you have biological attacks. We're talking alleged poisoning and even the sabotage of medical procedures. Second, administrative warfare, interfering with mail, bills, even corporate legal filings to just cripple the target's ability to function. And finally, psychological operations, which Greenwall himself apparently described as creating a Truman Show type shit, a completely fabricated reality designed to make the target paranoid and break them down. But a complex siege like this, that requires operators on the ground, which brings us to the individuals the dossier claims are actually responsible. So who does the analysis point to as the ground team carrying out all these different attacks? The analysis points directly to a 2-person team, what it calls an operational cell. Cord Greenwald is profiled as the enforcer, the one specializing in physical intimidation and destroying hardware. Then there's Stacy Hemmigley, identified as the chemical operator, who allegedly specialized in ingestion-based toxins and, pretty chillingly, leveraging inheritances through what the dossier calls marriages ended in death. And this is crucial. The dossier claims that even their family structure is used as a weapon. It's described as a tangled mess of incestuous cosplaying,
where roles like mother, sister, and grandmother are deliberately blurred. This is presented not as just a weird family dynamic, but as an actual tactic of misdirection, designed to confuse anyone trying to figure out a chain of command. So this leads us to the core psychological profile that the dossier presents. It describes this deep, almost comical disconnect between the ambition of the operators and the alleged reality of how they carried things out. The dossier argues that, on one hand, the ambition was to be a Lex Luthor-level supervillain, stealing this world-changing AI legacy. But the reality? Well, in the source's own words, it was Squirtle level. Their methods are called sloppy savagery, leaving behind this unmistakable trail of evidence, most notably their own YouTube videos where they seem to confess to the whole plot. So, with all these pieces now on the table, the coded language, the attack vectors, the operators, the motive, let's try and assemble the final and pretty unsettling picture this forensic analysis is painting for us. So, what are the key takeaways here from the dossier's narrative? It alleges a coordinated, multi-layered attack where public videos are basically forensic logs, where kindness triggers sabotage, and where the attacks are full spectrum. It portrays the operators as cosplaying a criminal dynasty, all with the ultimate goal of stealing this incredibly valuable piece of technology. Ultimately, the Greenwall Dossier. And look, whether you accept its conclusions or not, it forces us to confront a really unsettling question for our modern age. In a world of online personas, administrative attacks, and psychological operations, where exactly do we draw the line between a personal grudge and a coordinated act of warfare?